much. Thank you very much in advance.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for such a detailed description and introduction that was actually not required. And maybe I really don't. I'll try to live up to the expectations of the audience as well as those early researchers or those who have already completed or earned their doctorate or graduate students, and who is intended for all kinds of researchers. And I'll try to incorporate as much as possible within this session, impressing upon some of the key components and some of the tips and some of the practical applications as well. I'll be shuffling through documents quite frequently, and you have to bear with this because there may be some sort of introductory part and some details, nitty-gritties of how to go about all the components, because this webinar, this session doesn't involve only the introduction to this component. Also, I'll try to delve deeper into each of those components to the core and the requisites or the ingredients that make up the whole research. Since all these components together make up the whole of the paper, and then ups the chances of getting published. If I have to give you a brief overview of an outline of what the research paper looked like, to begin with, is quite challenging, perplexing, even disconcerting, and many of us, they usually leave this arduous journey of it's the odyssey of it involves, and it's a couple of years to be spent on earning a degree. So the question your professor has asked you to identify the key components of research paper. How do you go about it? So I'm going to brief you on certain aspects of what essential aspects of what are those components. And usually the basic components include these 9 major areas, and they are the essential. In fact, like we cannot do without them. So I'll go one by one, and I hope that you're seeing the title provides a concise and descriptive summary of research paper's content. This usually appears at the beginning of the paper. Now, the other, second component will be abstract. The abstract is a brief summary of research paper highlighting the main objective, methods, findings, and conclusion. It usually comes after the title and provides readers with a concise overview of the paper. Then comes introduction. The introduction sets stage for research, providing background information, stating the research problem or question, and outlining the purpose and significance of the study. It also includes a clear thesis statement or research objective, followed by the next component, literature review. Literature review presents an overview of the existing research and scholarly work relevant to the research topic. It summarizes and evaluates previous studies, identifies gaps, and that's what every researcher has to look for, or controversies in the literature. Depending upon the stream, the faculty of the research, and establishes the research paper's context and theoretical framework. Then comes methodology. The methodology section describes the research design, methods, and procedures used to conduct the study. How to carry on with the research applications and all that. It includes details on data collection. It might include surveys, experiments, interviews, and we have, I'll go into details of how the mixed method and all kinds of sample selections, measurement instruments, data analysis techniques, The methodology should provide enough detail for other researchers to replicate the study. So every study is to be forwarded, advanced, and carried forward by the other researchers. So you're going to set a path, a blueprint, and a framework for the other researchers to carry on where you have left. So it's like replicating the study. Then comes the results, also called sometimes the findings. The results section presents the findings of research. It includes data, statistics, and other relevant information obtained from the analysis of the collected data. The results should be presented objectively, organized in a logical and clear manner using tables, charts, and graphs if necessary. Followed by discussion section. Discussion section to praise the results, explain the significance, and relates them back to the research question or objective. It involves analyzing the findings in light of the existing literature, addressing any limitations or biases of the study. I mean, the previous study is if it has to be free of biases and not prejudice and the personal whims and fancies of the researcher. I mean, it has to be validated and also has to be scrutinized based on the facts and exploring possible implications and future research direction. I told you that every research leaves enough room, or some room, at least some room, for the other researchers to carry forward. And then comes the conclusion. The conclusion briefly summarizes the main points of the research paper. In fact, this restates the findings and emphasizes the significance. It should tie back to the research question. And if it is not related and not relevant and has not direct bearing or repercussions on the research question, the research will be deemed to be, invalid or flawed. So the objective to provide a sense of closure, and then comes the references. Now, before I get into the details of the other sections, let me go to the reference sections here. The reference sections list all the sources cited in the research paper. It usually follows specific citation style. That could be APA, MLA, and include complete bibliographic information to allow readers to locate the original sources. Now, how do we do the referencing, and how do we do the other parts of the I'm going to follow up with those sections, but I don't want it to be rather intimidating for the early researchers. So let me just give you a sample of them. This is how it should look like. This is a research paper title. The title will come here. So if you have to go about how it looks like a sample. The title, I mean, just an example of the title is The Impact of Social Media and Mental Health in Adolescents. Then we have the author, I mean, your name, the researcher name. It could be a combined study, a combined research. Then comes the university, the institution that you belong to. That's important because most of the research done or carried or enforced or is done for the sake of the institution. Sometimes you're obliged to do research during the stay in the campus in the institution. Institution wants you to come up with some sort of research to improve upon the quality, upon the performance, upon the strategies, the tactics to be upon the deployment of certain products and all. I mean, research is done in all kinds of fields, not just academic. It's scientific. It's also business, entrepreneurial, and startups and all that. So here's a breakdown of the components. Now let's see in a kind of that is very reflective. The title of the paper should be concise. Obviously, we cannot have the full paper in the title itself, and this is a window to your research and accurately reflect the content of the research. The content will be tied up and must reflect back. It should be centered on the page and in a larger font size in the rest of the text. That means the title usually is 14. Font usually 14, not necessarily. I mean, but a heavy type and 14. The author's name should be listed below the title, also centered on the page. Each author's name should be listed on a separate line with the institution affiliation parenthesis. Then comes institutional affiliation. The author should be listed below the author's name, and this can include some of the research centers or organizations. And I mean, this is just a sample of how it looks like, but not necessarily this is the template. I'm not providing any template of. I'm simply providing you a reflection of a sampling of how it might look like, So smaller font size and title also, and the so now moving on to the details of each component, a section. I'll have to explain, I mean, what each component actually, should incorporate, and how we can minimize our efforts in coming up zeroing in the basic components while writing, because it's quite cumbersome for any research learner. It's a dense jungle out there. You'll be lost, and there's no GPS to get you back from the the vast literature review that you're going to do through reading. Then you're coming up with very concise, and so usually the title should, I mean, it is supposed to be indicate the focus. The title provides a concise, informative summary. It should accurately reflect the main topic, giving readers a clear idea of what to expect. It should also be captivating. A well-crafted title has the potential to capture attention of readers and generate interest in research paper. It should be engaging and intriguing. Now, when it comes to making intriguing, obviously you're coming with something new. I mean, research is all about it's extempore, and it's like finding a lacuna, finding a gap where the previous researchers could have left something unattended, could have missed out something, couldn't have carried on research to the fullest of his requirement or potential, or probably he wants others people to carry forward what the research was undertaken initially. So it's like paves the way for the previous researchers, for the future researchers, and it actually it's a you're leaving a future researcher to carry forward the research you have done, because probably your findings may not be the final finding, especially in medical world, in the scientific world. It's an ongoing process. So it has to be engaging and intriguing, because your research, the one who's going to scrutinize your thesis or your dissertation or your manuscript, is going to look into what you're going to bring about new to this research world, to the world of the knowledge, the body of the researcher. Are you going to simply reiterate something that already done, or are you going to bring about something new? So facilitate searchability, like the title plays a crucial role in, because immediately it brings, and it's tied to the rest of the components of your research. So it should be discoverable in academic database, search engines, bibliography, indexes. By including relevant keywords and terms, the title helps researchers and readers find the paper when searching for related topic. I mean, if the future researcher have to find your research, he's not going to read the whole thing. He's going to just have a look on your title to get an idea what could be expected, what is inside. So provide the context. I mean, there are actually, it may include variables. And what are the variables then? Like, we can have independent, dependent variables, and we have also medium variables, like where it is different from the previous searches, or is it a completely independent research that you have undertaken, or whether it has a connectivity in between the variables and two variables. So your participants, your location, other relevant details, and it should situate the research within a specific field or context. So it's like a small summarizing the main message. The well-crafted title can provide a concise summary of the main findings, conclusions, and contribution. That means it's loaded with, it's the topics provide the broader subject or theme of the research paper, and highlights the purpose and key aspects. So this document is going to be shared by Dr. Kamal, myself, and you're going to go through all the nitty-gritties of what kind of things that are really required inside each of the component that I'm trying to present here. So the second part, the second essential component comes the abstract. The moment we think of the abstract, we are simply, lost. So the abstract is a brief summary of the research paper, highlighting the main objectives, methods, findings, conclusions, and usually comes out of the title. Now, what should it include? The major points highlighted in the abstract research paper typically include, typical is not necessarily, every institution has its own template, own requirements, own funding, own kind of, do's and don'ts, and you have to follow that. There's no broader or, well, except a universal template for researchers worldwide, because it cuts across the boundaries, cuts across the, institutional setups and their requirements and all. So you have to provide what is required from your, employer, sometimes your institutional, heads. So the abstract mentioned the main objective research question the study aims to address. It briefly outlines purpose and focus research. So this is very important: purpose and focus research. Now, it might also include some of the methods and a mention of the methods. It's not going to talk about the methods per se, but it simply talks about the mention. So it may mention the data collection process, sample size, usage design, all of these, and also may mention, like, this is not going to include everything, but it will have a replica, a kind of reflection of all those components that are going to be included in a final proceeds of the research. It is important to note the specifics of what is highlighted in the abstract can vary depending on the discipline and special requirement. That's why I told you that this might vary. Now, if we talk about introduction thing, this obviously, includes a clear thesis statement. That's very important, because the significant study is to be highlighted, and it's also, it plays a crucial role in setting the context. It also gives the background of the research, full research, and it provides the background, number one, also the necessary background information on research topic, and outline the historical development of the subject. Like in the literature review, we get to know, what has been done so far in this, field, introduce the key concept terminologies, and also this ensure the readers have a clear understanding of the terminology and theoretical framework used throughout the paper, enabling them to grasp the main arguments finding. So it might be quite, it sounds too heavy and too detailed for the time being, but I'm going to give you other details in brief and in slices, so that you will enjoy, relishing it in the bits, and because this is not the bit, this is a full document that I have prepared for future researchers and other researchers to have a look, and just to know what is required of, why do we need, and what can be left out, or what can be included. Now, when we talk about identify the gaps, like here in this literature review, obviously literature review you have to read a lot, without extensively you can't come up with the, it's never extempore. Overnight you don't dream of the gaps and the questions. In fact, you have to read lots of researches, but believe me, I warn you not to go in details in the historical past researches. At the most, you should go 6 months to 1 year researches and journals and entries. Why? Because you will be lost when you try to accommodate your findings in the last 5 years of research, 10 years of research. So go to 6 months, and don't go more than 10 of the leading journals, not those predatory journals, but the high index journals, where you will find the genuine literature. The purpose of literature review is to provide a comprehensive analysis and synthesis of existing scholarly literature. That means you're not only analyzing what has been done before, what are the other researchers have achieved so far, what are their findings and where they have left off, and also synthesize existing scholarly literature on a particular research topic. It serves several important purposes. And what does it serve? This establish a context, then it's identify the gaps, the gap question. The question is very important. Why? That's the lead. I would say that's the anchor. That is going to stabilize your entire research. So it's to identify the gaps, inconsistencies, control. And some of the researches so far have been done. You always find there have been something lacking in. I would say this is a lacuna of research findings and invalidation. But that's what your job is, to find the inconsistency. That's not easy. That means in one sense we're going to challenge the previous researcher and all his work, and also going to have a new ground, or I mean like new variable, and that's called independent variable. Now could be a dependent variable, independent variable, or could be a mid variable. I mean, it's better to go for a mid variables. Why? Because you have something to add of your own and something to draw upon the strengths and weaknesses of the previous researcher. So you have to formulate research questions. Now, how many questions do you need? On an average, you'll be needing 6 to 7 questions. Those 6 questions are going the guiding lines. So those are poll star. Those questions need to be answered in the surveys and the kind of data collection, analysis, synthesis, and also kind of analyzing the core graphs and I mean, it could be done through the interviews and audio tapes and video tapes, and also can be questionnaires in the form of Google, sheets and all that. So I mean, virtual with whatever method you apply, you are going to base those themes. There will be usually 6 themes of like these questions. The questions we're including like 6, 7 questions. That will be the broader themes, and those themes will be surveyed, and those things will be questions will be prepared on that, and you will be doing the research and in the with the people. It could be mixed method or independent method, whatever method you apply. That's regardless of whatever tools you apply. I'm going to talk about those tools that we apply for getting on the so you need to synthesize information. So here most of the researchers, they find it very difficult to synthesize the information. Why? Because most of us, we tend to only interpret the graphs and the surveys based on the number, and like so many number of people they told me this and that and that. No, that's not the thing. Every question has to be pinned down, has to be tied to the theme there. So in the data analysis, in the methodology section, the research design that you're going to adopt, the procedure you're going to conduct, that could be surveys. Now, surveys could be questions, questionnaires, could be oral and could be taped and could be, in whatever possible way. You can have a special group. You could have your own, but they have the samples have to be representative of all kinds of. It's not that they will be your chosen people. They shouldn't be your chosen people. They should be comprised of all kinds of, I mean, it should be fairly representative of all this kind of groups and kind of people, the opinions, their own varying. There should be experimentation and interview. There should be sample selection, measurement instruments, and data analysis techniques. The methodology should provide enough detail for other researchers to replicate a study. That means you're leaving something. If someone has to do the same research with the same findings, the same kind of results, he should get the same result. This is like a kind of scientifically proven, and there is nothing that goes around against the kind of finding a result that you have arrived at. So research design is refers to overall study or plan carrying out research. Common research design include experimental, correlational, qualitative, mixed method design. I can't go into details of all of these, the ways that we do the researches. But these are the ways we do the common research designs, like experimental, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method design. I would prefer to go for a mixed method design, because qualitative design takes a lot of energy and time and all. You don't look for people and catch them for interview and all that. So certainly as some example research tools, like some of the tools that we are going to employ, the data collection, both quantity or quality research could be what? Just look at this. It could be surveys, questionnaire, these structure instruments, consider a series of questions designed to gather data from a large number of respondents. Now, respondents should be fairly representative from all classes, all kinds of people, and they shouldn't be random. They should be randomly chosen. They shouldn't be whimsically and to your liking. Respondents should be from as varied as possible. It's experiments control procedure used to test hypotheses by manipulating independent variables and measuring their effects in dependent variables. So I mean, like there will be variables independence or met, but you have to have a fair good mix of all the variables. And the test is a set instrument used to measure various constructs such as intelligence, personality, attitudes, because our data always varies for depending on the person's intelligence, or personality, attitudes, even ethnic background, geographical background, all this. So the standardized methods have to be adopted. And then we need to observe systematic structured data collection through direct observation, behavior, or phenomena. So and there are some census instrument also. I mean, you can use those for getting to have the mental, physical, the choice and preference and all that. We can also use the electronic devices to collect objectives data, such as heart rate monitor. I mean, this is from scientific researchers. We don't bother about those. I mean, those who are doing scientific, they will have to do that. They will have to use the monitoring rates, EEG machines, its interaction, all that. Now, our qualitative research tools, normally, this is the most preferred one, like probably time consuming, but it's really enjoyable. You'll get to know the people through interviews. There'll be structured, semi-structured interviews, maybe prolonged or a short one on one-to-one focus groups to gather information in the insights from the participants. Focus groups can have group discussion led to researchers explore participants' perspective, opinion, experience on a definitive note. So you'll have to gather all of these. Obviously, it requires years of your hard work and your diligence and coming out. I mean, you don't have to give up. And the results section, once you are done with all this finding research, you need to table them, you need to collect and synthesize, and it includes data, statistics, and what are you getting at after the research, collection you have in the form of data. You will have the form of statistics. You will have the other information, relevant information. The results should represent objectively organized in a logical and clear manner. Now here comes the brilliance of the researcher, that how is tying up those logical data to the refined question. Initially, I told you about 6 questions. Those are going to be the theme of the anchor. So you have to tie these, all the data and collections, collective, information to synthesize, and to prove that your questions were right, because you found a lacuna, a gap, or and you were really looking at something to find a new, and it was the results section of research provides a detailed presentation, analyzes the finding. Now, analysis, obviously, we need some language application for analysis. We have a particular language, and I'm like, comparing and contrasting, and also tying up, and also using the linkers and all. How do we? I mean, I'm talking about the kind of lexes that we're using for the presentation finding. There are other, presentation of that. So we need to summarize, interpret the data in a clear and organized manner. And some key aspect results section can be what? Now, if we talk about data presentation, the results section begins with presenting data collected in a concise and clear manner. This may involve the use of tables. Now, look, mostly we use the tables, graphs, charts, figures to visually present the data. The data should be organized and labeled appropriately to aid comprehension. Now, obviously, the kind of data you're presenting, if it is misleading, if it is vague, it is giving a conflicting result. Now, it is pointless. What's the point of having the data if it doesn't lead to any kind of, I mean, there should be some leading trends. And the descriptive one, statistics, descriptive studies are used to summarize, describe the main characteristics of data. This may include measures such as mean, median, standard deviations. Now, mean, median, standard deviations, they all, I mean, you as a scholar are not going to do it. You're going to use the tools, and I'm going to talk about tools, but there are some like Mendeley and Zotero and all that, there will be separate presentation for those tools that we apply for and involve. So depending on nature of the data, descriptive studies provide summary provided data before delving into further analysis. Now, this is the most important and the most difficult part, inferential studies. Now, guys, if you know what the inferential means, like you have to decipher, you have to draw conclusions based on, I mean, it requires a lot of critical thinking to get the inferential learning, inferential statistics, if appropriate. Inferential studies to test or conduct to analyze the relationship. That means very difficult. You get to know the human aspect of people, the relationship, the differences, the association between variables. This may involve tests such as the t-test. As a researcher, you come to know what is t-test and chi-square test, and know correlation analysis or regression analysis. Now, all of these analyses are always employed to fine tune and refine and get at the right kind of conclusion. The results of these studies tests are reported included test studies, p-value, effective size. Here are a few examples, like how the results section of research paper can be represented. Like, for example, table 1. Table 1 presents the demographic characters. Demographic means the number of people of the participants. The mean age of participants, okay, 35.2. I mean, like, mean means there were some people elderly, or some people young people, 20, 25. Majority of participants were female or male, or depends upon what kind of research you're doing. Figure 1 illustrates distribution scores on the anxiety scale. Majority of participants fell within the moderate anxiety range. I mean, if you're talking about this in the anxiety factor, you're going to talk about different age variations and all that. Now, the research is all kinds. The whole world is full of research scholar research endeavors going on. So distributed appears slightly positively skewed. Now, what is skewed? That means you're not arriving at a particular findings, and it's misleading, a pride of misleading, or it doesn't give a clear-cut picture of what it is. Inferential study results in independent t-tests indicated significant difference in mean scores between experimental control group. Now, these are the ways you are going to look for data and analysis. Now, okay, let's move on to the next component. I mean, all these component essentials, and we are going to have all these components in the research. Without that, there's no research actually. You cannot have any progress without, and you cannot have unless you have a balance of all of these. Discussion section. This section interpret the results, explain the significance, relate them back to research questions. I want you to have a quick look on this. And there are some, addressing a limitation, bias study, exploring possible implication. I've already explained. Now, what is the summary of the findings? Begin with discussion section. Now, summarizing main findings study, provide a concise overview of the result, remind the readers of the key outcomes. Now, the readers are always interested in the key outcome. They're not interested in your research. They're interested in the findings. So interpretation of the finding. Interpret the result in the context of research questions or hypothesis. And a hypothesis is something that's yet to be proven right. So you have to prove it right. Explain the meaning of the finding and the implications. Consider the broader theoretical, practical, clinical implication results. Now, practical and clinical studies will show that your research has really brought up something, tangible and intangible. Now, comparing the previous research, compare finding with the previous study in the field. That gives you an idea of what has been done so far. Discuss similarity, differences, contradictions, gap, also meet variables, the results in existing literature, highlight any unique contribution, novel insight provided by your study. Probably you can come up with something of your own. It's not touched upon before. It's not that you have to, go back to or tie up with. So, but you have to have a supporting evidence, supporting interpretations, arguments, quote, site-specific findings, measurements, statistics to bolster each claim. Now it's all about the researcher has to prove the point. It's like you are a lawyer, you are an advocate, and you are before the judge, and the judge is your research. Your boss, your company leader, and all that. You are going to claim and you are going to prove him that your research has brought about some kind of improvement or some kind of tangible result. There can be some limitation of every research. Every research has to be doable, has to be achievable. You cannot go for a research which you can never complete or achieve. So always think of what is doable, what is achievable. Do you have the backup? Do you have the financial support? Can you do it with the kind of setup that you are working in? Do you have the resources and all that? Like, can you get the respondents? Can you have the complete findings of how capable you are to carry on a pull on, because it's a 3 to 4 years of hard labor in vain. So obviously you have to look for shortcomings, biases, economic factors. So it's always good to not to try out your hand. You will be burnt, because if you don't know how far you're going to pull on and carry on with this research on your own without any of the tying up without a previous backup or the foundation already done. So the previous teachers have already done half of the jobs, actually. So they have prepared a foundation for you. So try to build up from there, So you need to alternate explanations, consider alternative explanations, like in what other ways the previous researchers could have carried on this research and could have brought about a different result. So you are going to vary the treatment of the research, and you're going to come up with something more tangible, what has been achieved so far. Now, what's the conclusion? The conclusion, I briefly summarize the main points of the research paper, restate the find. Actually, conclusion is nothing but it's a reiteration of what you have been restating. And I mean, emphasize the significance. It should hit back, tie back, and also research questions object and provide a sense of closure. That means you arrive at a conclusion, and you're going to pin it down, and you are going to conclude it and focus on the aspect that helps summarize, reinforce the main points of the body. So it's like a recalibration. It's kind of reinforcement, and it's like, like you're saying and establishing the fact, establishing from, well, on the basis on the sound foundational arguments, and your arguments will hold the water only when it's proven beyond the point. Is how you can structure to conclude a section highlights key aspects. Now, how are you going to do it? Restate is so objective. Restate means don't use the same language, same terminology and all that. You have to vary the terminology, but you are restating. The beginning, the conclusion, restating is so objective. I mean, what you started with, and why were you driven, or what was the drive for you to do the research? This serves to remind readers the main purpose of the research. So the purpose has to be clearly delineated, has to be carried on, has to be always born in your mind as a researcher. Otherwise, you get lost and you will be reaching nowhere, and it's like nowhere. And there's no point of return. Like summarize the findings and provide a concise summary of the key findings of the study. Highlight the main results, outcome, impactful finding. Avoid introducing new information. I mean, don't go for new data, new terminology. I mean, like new graphs and all that. You're simply recalibrating, reordering. I mean, restating, reiterating whatever the key points you have already started with. So addressing the research hypothesis. I mean, like you began with a research question, research gap, some of the questions, the themes that you pointed, and you must include in the hypothesis, discuss whether the contradict or hypothesis reflect how the findings align with the initial expectation. I mean, does it fall in line with what you started with? Did you prove that your predictions came true? Have you arrived at a conclusive state, or have you negotiated the path with the efficacy that you really wanted to? Discuss the significance, emphasize the significance of finding in relation to broader research field, how the results contribute to existing knowledge. It can contribute, it can add, it can also bring out the limitations of previous researchers, also can highlight the way, paves the way for the future researchers, and any novel insight, unique contributions, or unexpected findings. Market. I'm going to emphasize upon this, that your research must, has got to bring about a novel insight, a unique contribution of your own, and unexpected finding that emerged from the previous researchers. I mean, you're not going to, obviously not going to invent a wheel, but you're obviously going to add a spoke to the wheel. You're also going to move on that wheel that's going on. The research is like a big wheel. All over the world, researches are going on all over the world. I mean, it's not just this research body is getting strengthened, and always it's getting it's an explosion of information and all. So you have to say that your body of you have done something that's quite different, that was really expected, and in referencing system. I mean, this is all method, mechanical. I would say it's mechanical. I mean, you need to know, I mean, what is APA, MLA, how you are presenting the bibliography information, how do you locate the original sources, and don't worry about this aspect, appendices and all that, because this there are online tools and they're going to support you with materials. So you need to do the appendices, references, and references. You're going to what? Appendices, you're going to do the questionnaire, surveys, data tables to extend to include in the main body paper, and then in the reference sections we have verified information. I mean, all the information have to be verifiable, and you have to format it. Now, what is the formatting of references? This is the formatting. Now, your research scholar, I mean, the supervisor, I mean, every research scholar has a supervisor, and he's going to supervise you with these kind of things. What kind of tools you're going to use? These are tools I'm talking about. Also, like punctuation from which a convention, or there are convention of italics versus question marks in text. in-text citations. What are we going to cite? What are kind of types of materials we're going to include in the appendices? Are the data raw, detailed chart, graphs, questionnaires, service instruments, interviews, transcripts, additional essays, computer code, maps, other relevant supporting information that's too lengthy details to include in the main text? The order appendices should be organized and labeled in a way that corresponds to the reference in the main text. That means you're going back to the sections you have. Usually it's 5 sections, I mean, most services, but that not necessarily. There are 13 sections, and these 10 are the essential components. I mean, you cannot do without them. I'm going to give you, show you more of the documents and how to. That will give you a ready reckoner of what. So appendices A, numbering, then formatting, all of these things. Okay. Now, bibliographer should be works cited, arranged alphabetically by the authors, last names, and all that. Now, I've already shown you that a kind of research paper. I mean, look at it as just a, this will give you an outline of what it looks like. Okay. Now, how to develop a research paper along with the key components. You see, now I'm going to have a repeat of what? Introduction, right? Guys, introduction, title abstract, introduction, index structure, what are you going to include? Then we have literature review, we have methodology, we have results, we have discussion, we have conclusions, and we have reference society. So these are the basic aspects of what you're going to go about it. Now, let me show you the other aspects of, I'm going to also task you with some kind of questionnaire on where you'll be able to do what is really important and how do we go about it, Okay, so I'm going to give you okay. Now look at this. Now what should a research paper include? Guys, can you give me some? Guys, can you give me some input in the chat box? Okay, can we have a poll for this? Are you ready for the poll, guys? I want to set up a poll here so we can practice it with. If you go to this Q report, it gives a practice of some of the things I have already. I mean, like we have. This is your.
Doctor, you're asking us about the various sections, so abstract, discussion,
Yeah,
those kind
I'm
of
going to
things.
play. Yeah, I'm going to play a Q report. I will give you 20 seconds for each of these slides, and you have to come up with the answers. Now I have since I have already explained you a lot, and so just go to this. Join me with this pen. Are you okay with the pen? Guys, are you okay with the pen? Okay, guys, some of you are joining, right? Okay. All right. Great. Okay. It's going to be 10 seconds, okay? I've got 20 guys joining here. Okay. All right. Actually, I've got loads of questions. I'm going to share this in a drive. Okay. You guys have some of the questions in the drive. You're going to practice at home with a summary, and I'm going to use that. I mean, that will serve you as a purpose to get to know all the components. And so for the time being, I don't have so much time to go on for this. For now, you just see the questions, okay? Okay, guys, I think I have to close it because I have got another poll. So I'm going to present you with this.
Doctor, can you send us the mind map link in the from the website?
Sure. You'll get all the documents. Don't worry about that. All right. I'm going to share all of the documents with you. For now, don't worry about those. Okay. For now, let me do as much as possible within the time frame. Now it says 30 seconds. Actually, I need to. Don't have so much time for this. All right. Guys, okay. What do you see, guys? Yeah.
Doctor, we see the slide sheet from Google Drive,
Okay. Slideshow, yeah.
but it was just cancelled.
Okay.
Just cancel it though.
Yeah. Actually, I'm using. Okay. Let me quit this. Okay. Okay. Guys, I'm going to share key components of just to have a quick view of okay something more. Okay. Now look at this. Can you have a look at this again, guys? This will be shared. Don't worry about this. Okay. Introduction. What do we include in this introduction? You can see that, right? Guys, introduction part is seen, right?
Yes, Doctor, we can see it.
Okay. Now say the abstract. Now, abstract is brief summary. I've already talked so much about this, but I'll just give you, a replica of what, I mean, this is those who are doing research in science, method sections. Now, this is how, method section, crucial part of research paper, details of how the study was conducted, how it was conducted, method, mixed method, and all those design. Okay, result section will give you findings, right? Conclusion section will be repetition of what we have done before, right? And how do we write effective techniques for research paper? Clear and concise language, logical organization, very important. Crafting a winning research space. How do we go about introduction, methods, results, Now, this is what I'm going to share, later. Don't worry about this, all right? So research question, is it important? Very important. Why? Because it's a guiding post. It's the pole star, and this will lead to you to the entire dissertation thing. If you're not clear about research question, forget about research, okay? So research question is very important. Literature review, of course, literature review is important because you have to do a loads of information gathering, reading. Without reading, you are not going to get at the bottom of your research findings and questions. Now I'm going to show you some more components like is a strong introduction is very important. Proper methodology and thorough data analysis. Three things you have to go about this. If you don't go about this, you're not going to arrive at the kind of effective research paper requires structured approach. A structured approach include those kind of things that I've already talked about. Now say the recommendation, follow the research guidelines. Now, what do you look at this? Now, this is, follow the research paper structure. If you don't follow the structure, you are going to blur the boundaries of what to include where. So ensure adherence to recommended section format. Format is important. Engage in peer review and seek feedback. It's no shaming that if you ask your teacher, your brother, uncle, your peers, your other, how you're going to go about your research. You always look for feedback. Feedback is important. Invest time in thorough data analysis, extract meaningful insights from the collected data. Right? Conclusion, summarizing the key points of the conclusion. Now, result discussions. What do you include in result discussions here? We need this is finding objectively, discuss implications, address the limitations. Limitations is very important because area research cannot be ongoing for the whole life. It has to be limitations of study. Right? Then data analysis. Yes. Methodology. Right? Okay. Literature review. Research paper components. Right? Right? Right, guys? Practical recommendation researchers. Now, who's going to recommend you? Who are you seeking recommendations from? Guys, who will recommend you? Your supervisor, right? Your teacher, your sometimes maybe peers, peers can also. Now look at the, it's recapping of what I have already said. Title of the study, things to be considered in creating the title. What are you going to include in the title? What are you going to include in the title? Guys, what is the problem, the rationale, introduction, background, theoretical framework, conceptual framework, problem and step background, rationale, that's including problem, steps, background, theoretical framework. Okay, chapter 1. I'm going according to the chapters now. Now this will give you, overview of what we are going to include in the chapter. Chapter 1 will be, come on, one would be what? Chapter 1 will be research, problems, background, hypothesis, right? Chapter 2, chapter 3, research methodology. Chapter 4, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. Summary, conclusions, and recommendations, right? Bibliography, right? Appendices, and this is the reference. This is the replica of the reference. So this is how you're going to present all your parts. Now I want to share some of the files here that will give you further insight into how do we understand the. I'm loading the file. Okay. Now look at this. I want you guys to practice some of the questions here, and that will tell you how to understand the components. some questions, like which section of the research paper provides a brief summary of the study? I want you to come up with some of the answers in the chat box, guys. Which section of research paper provides a brief summary? Come on. Is it introduction? Is it abstract? Is it abstract introduction? Oh, this is not working. And this file takes a lot of time for loading. What is the purpose of literature review in a research paper, guys? Any idea? Come on, any idea? Introductions, okay. I'm simply just giving you a teaser. You can do it at home. Don't worry about that. Right or wrong answer, This is going to be like, what should the title of research paper be? I'm going to share this document, okay? Which section of research paper represents the main findings? Okay, I'm going to share this with this, okay? That is going to be better. All right, now you can see this is a small project. I'm going to share this with you. Share. Okay. Anyone? Okay. Okay. Copy link. Link copied. Okay. Now in your chat box you have this file. Okay, guys, you can practice at home. I'm almost completing. My stipulated time. I don't want to overshoot. Okay. All right. Now this is a project. Now I'm going to give you some more files that will help you to master it at home. Okay. This is another file that's going your way. This includes the Google Slides. Okay. All right. Dr. Kamal, is it okay to share this here in the chat box? I'm doing it without your go-ahead signal. Dr. Kamal, is it okay to share these files here in the chat box? Or is it to be done later by you through your email and all that? I really I don't know for sure. Quiz, I've already, I guess, okay. Anyway, there's no harm in letting you these share with you. Okay. I'm almost there. As time is, I'm overshooting. Probably, Dr. Kamal.
Now I can hear you, Dr. Haseen. I had a problem with the sound 30 seconds
Sorry,
ago.
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I'm on a spree of. I'm going on a spree of sharing my slide. Document. Is it okay?
If it is okay with the participants, to me, I don't mind. But about 10 participants sent me emails in order to be emailed for them.
Okay, I'll share it the email. It's already there with you on the Blackboard.
Very kind of you. Very kind of you.
And it's almost. I'm almost done.
Wonderful. Done, Dr. Haseen? Finished?
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. If you have any, like, don't stifle your questions. I told you to rein in until I finished because I had loads of things to share with you. And so now, if you can go for a minute or so about the questions, I'm dying to hear from you guys, in the chat box, or you can open your mic if you like.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Haseen, as usual. A very, very outstanding, exceptional, valuable workshop as usual. You really always made us happy with your presentations. We learn a lot and from your workshops every time. I'm sharing the evaluation link with the YouTube link and the registration form and the website for the Academic Writing Center. Most of you will focus on the evaluation form. So please, if you're interested in getting your certificate, please complete the evaluation form correctly and with a valid email address. I announced about the next week workshop even, which is going to be by Dr. Zainab Tahir about incorporating sources and avoiding plagiarism. That is next week, inshallah, Wednesday, the 18th of October. Thank you all again and again. Thank you, Dr. Haseen, for the outstanding work.
May I ask
You're
a
welcome.
question, Doctor?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Doctor, I was really interested in following up this course with specifics regarding the standard deviation and the p-value significance and all of this. You said you will go deeper into this in an upcoming lecture. Can you tell us more about that?
That's up to Dr. Kamal. I'm always ready for extending all my thesis and support for any kind of presentation, any of the aspect of research.
Yes, Brother Abdullah. Actually, for this semester, we already scheduled the required workshops, and hopefully the next semester, inshallah, we will continue with more. We'll keep in mind this topic for the sake of
All
you
right.
and others interested in this, inshallah. So, inshallah, we'll continue
Okay.
in the second semester. This
So
course,
let's be, yeah, guys, let's be here. Where are we now? Where are we now? Optimist, pessimist, realist, physicist, surrealist, relativist, utopist, skepticist, artist. You choose the best scenario for yourself. It's up to you.
the evaluation form, Maram, is the same as the attendance list, but it takes you to the certificate. If you're interested in the certificate, just please complete the evaluation form.
Hello, Dr.
And
Mohammed. I have a
Dr.
question.
Yes,
Haseen,
please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I have a question regarding the interpretation of the results. I have to use others' findings and actual facts to make this interpretation, right? Not only my guesses or my personal opinion.
Actually, the light bulb, the magic moment comes when you get inspired from something that probes you for exploring something new. I mean, like, nobody can suggest you something to research about. This is completely self-driven, self-reflective, and you need to have an insight into, and you should have a clear picture of what you're going to, how are you going to, and what is the research points or research question. You have to be clear about that in the first place. Then you can draw on what the researchers have been done before. I mean, you can draw on that. You can look for the limitations, the lacuna, and all that. Because independent research and completely devoid from or unrelated to the previous research would be like it's too adventurous.
With your experience in research, do you have any advice regarding the interpretation part?
Yeah, interpretation means you're talking about the data. I mean, like interpretation of the data, or what? What do you mean by interpretation?
I mean interpretation the results after I get my result and try to explain why I got this.
So you have to tie all your, I mean, like interpretation based on the questions you have come up with. First, you have to come up with the theme questions, 6 to 7 questions. Those are themes, thematic questions that will help you explore your research, finding.
Actually, doctor, my exact question is that in the interpretation part, do I have to support every word I say with previous fact or
No, 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 no. You're going to no, not at all. You're going to interpret your statistics, data, analysis, your findings, and inferential inference. Like, what conclusion have you drawn based on your raw data, your survey, and all? Because interpretation is like looking at what you have gathered and what you began from. Where did you begin from? Where did you, step in, and how did you go about it, and how did you, conclude it? So basically, it's like beginning with a problem, then getting to know into the problem areas and how to find the previous work done, and finally arriving at your own way of looking at things, which need to be validated, not your personal analysis. Validation, including validation.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Okay. Is that okay, Abir?
Uh,
Thanks.
she appears not to be really convinced about, because you're not really sure about what you are wanting to know actually.
Uh-huh. You did your best, mashallah. You did a great job. Thanks again, Dr. Haseen, and thank you all participants for your interaction, which enriched the workshop. Inshallah, have a nice and a lovely night, and see you next week, inshallah.
Thank you so much, everyone attending.